Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and Rostermania went stratospheric last night with the confirmation that Dashy, after 4 years in green, will not be part of OpTic going into next season. Why exactly did they make this move? Rumour has it that the work ethic problems that plagued Dashy's career the last few years may well have returned in the latter half of the season, and therefore they've decided to go down a different direction. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you were new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Loads of new subs yesterday, zooming at 100k as well. I know we're a little bit off 100k now, but I'm sure we can make it happen in due course. There was about 30,000 of you guys yesterday that watched last night's video that aren't yet subscribed, so if that's you and you want to make sure you don't miss anything Rostermania related, because there's going to be plenty, the red button is your best friends. Let's crack straight on with things, because yes, wow, Dashy and aBeZy free agents last night. Of course, we talked about the possibilities of what OpTic might want to do, and we'll see that a bit more here in a second, but dropping Dashy is such a, I mean, aBeZy we kind of saw coming to a certain degree, right? If his thumb wasn't fully healed, OpTic can't take the risk that that's going to recur, so they said, look, aBeZy, if you think you're okay, go and explore other options, but we're going to go down a different route to make sure that last season doesn't repeat itself again. That makes sense. The Dashy thing is kind of crazy though, right? Because he's been, MVP candidate of the team, best player on the team. I think even they've said, especially at the start of the season, that he was kind of a reformed man in terms of his work ethic and stuff, and also his playstyle as well, because many people criticize his playstyle, playing for kills a bit too much. I think this season a lot of people said, and OpTic included, that okay, Dashy's turned the corner, and even other pro players agreed, and Crimsix and the like agreed that Dashy's kind of been much more impactful this year than he has been in previous seasons in terms of converting the statistics to actual damage. So it doesn't seem like it's kind of like a team chemistry thing internally within the game that's the issue. It's more than likely it's a team chemistry thing outside of the game that we'll see here in a second. Of course, as Dashy confirmed, restricted free agent for 2023, hit my line. Of course, we'll discuss later on today where Dashy could potentially go, because there are some interesting options there on the table most certainly. And this also from aBeZy, I did want to mention, because this I thought was rather spicy actually, especially because I don't think these guys knew about this until very recently. Maybe aBeZy did, but I don't think Dashy knew about this. Honestly, maybe even 24 hours ago, he might not have known about this, and we'll see why in a second, because as aBeZy says, see you all next year. Now this is it's quite the statement really from aBeZy, right? They let go of him, and he's not saying, thanks for the memories, thanks guys. And even if you look at his bio and everything, like OpTic's not here anymore, I'm pretty sure, he must have taken it out of his bio, so aBeZy's effectively saying, look, I don't want nothing to do with OpTic anymore. It almost seems like he feels like they did him dirty to a certain degree, because he's not saying thanks or anything like that. He's just saying, see you guys next year. I'm effectively going to come for revenge, which is what this seems like. So maybe aBeZy feels like he's been somewhat hard done by here, and maybe Dashy feels similarly, just because just yesterday, or I guess, yesterday morning for me, but the day before, Dashy was streaming Valorant and was talking about what was going on, and was seeming very confident that their team would stay together. I'm just going to share a clip for you guys here, actually. I might have to remove the music from the background, so the audio quality might not be quite so good, but he literally was talking on stream, implying that he believed the roster was going to stay together, and saying that how impactful aBeZy was to the team and all this type of stuff, and then literally just a few hours after this, he gets dropped from the team.
Heck said the roster's sticking? Bro, we're getting disrespected right now, like we were nice, bro, you know what I'm saying? I thought we were pretty godlike before, you know what I'm saying? It's a freak accident or incident with Ender, you know what I mean? I thought we were pretty godlike, I don't know, you know what I mean? But 3 months off, or not 3 months off, but I don't think people understand how, I don't know. Ender's the one person on our team, between us four, that would have hurt the most for, sitting out. Not because, of, how do I put this? I mean, Ender he does so much for our team. Every day in practice, every day in scrims, the way he goes about it, how he goes, he's so efficient when it comes to getting better, it's insane. But, and it's also, in game two, he's calling so much, different, situationals,
So this is kind of crazy stuff, right? Dropping the number 2 MVP candidate of the season, a 1.20 overall KD, and yeah, just based on his words there, did that sound like a man that knew he was going to get dropped about 12 hours later? That certainly did not. I don't understand how I heard about this before Dashy heard about this, but that's sometimes what happens with OpTic, to be honest, and we'll see that here in a second. So that at least is the implication to me. No, there's two ways this could have happened, right? Either aBeZy was going to go, and therefore Dashy decided to leave. Now this to me seems significantly less likely, right? I mean, look, there's two options here. Either OpTic wanted Dashy to go, or Dashy saw that aBeZy was going to go, as we just saw, rated him very highly, and decided to leave as well. Now, do you really think Dashy would leave OpTic in that situation? The organization he's always wanted to be a part of, just to follow aBeZy to a new team, and it's not even guaranteed they're a team of 2 because we haven't seen any implications of that as of yet. So I would say it's far more likely that OpTic decided to drop both of them than at the circumstance where iLLeY was going to get dropped and Dashy decided to follow suit. You guys might disagree in the comment section below. This also to mention here because, of course, well, they did a podcast last night talking about Rostermania, the OpTic guys, and the comment and the like-dislike ratio was not so good. If you guys have the YouTube dislike extension thing, you can still kind of see what the dislikes are. And even in this video, Cammy was, well, Former was talking about the fact that Cammy is really good, and that Hex said, yeah, he's pretty damn good, and made this face implying that they know something might happen. So we'll see the potential replacements here, but it seems like they've known that, I mean, of course they've known, right? They had the graphics ready to go last night after the leak started to emerge that Dashy was going to be gone. And that's really the thing, right, about, you know, Scump and Shotzzy. These guys aren't afraid to drop someone on their neck, right? And it does seem eerily similar in a way to the Black Ops 4 circumstances where Crimsix got dropped from the team, and they knew that Crim was going to get dropped. They decided right after Black Ops 4 champs that Crim was going to get dropped. And I believe they waited, you know, 2 weeks to even tell him, right? Thought this is kind of funny, to be fair. But, you know, I think they waited a fair bit of time before Crimsix even found out. Of course, look, at the end of the day, Crim got the last laugh, went to Dallas Empire and won champs the next season. So, and of course, people are already suggesting that's going to be the same thing again. But it does feel to me like Dashy and iLLeY didn't find out until kind of last minute here. And, well, maybe are pretty frustrated. iLLeY certainly seems to be based on the tweets that we have seen. And yeah, the revenge tour may well indeed be inbound. But why exactly did OpTic decide to make this move? Because, as I say, the iLLeY thing makes sense for a few reasons. They want to make sure that occurrence doesn't happen again. But the Dashy change is pretty mind-blowing, right? People, a lot of OpTic fans are like, wow, this is a terrible idea. And the rumors started to circulate that once again it's because of internal issues, as well, CDL Scrim Intel describes. And I believe, from what I've heard, this is pretty accurate. Scump, Rambo, and Shotzzy were not happy with certain players still not taking stuff seriously regarding a sleep schedule and other bits. Some people have said they had as many issues as the New York subletters. Don't know about that one. But yeah, this I believe is the case. Now, I mean, look, which player could they possibly be talking about when it comes to sleep schedule and, you know, work ethic and stuff like this? I wonder who it could be, especially because of the past history, right? And yes, at the start of this season, things seem to have turned a corner to a certain extent. I do remember that earlier this year, I think back in February, it came out that, like, Dashy had been fined once for being late, but every other day he was on time and was okay. And we've heard this in the past, right? You know, Dashy staying up late playing Valorant, doesn't turn up to scrims quite on time. Even someone on Reddit I saw was talking that they were in the OpTic Discord, and I'm pretty sure, well, apparently the OpTic guys use Discord for their scrims, which I do believe is the case. And if you have a Discord extension, you can see the private channels when the guys are in there. And this guy was saying that often the guys, like, you know, Shotzzy and Scump and all those, and Rambo and the guys are already ready in the call, and Dashy takes ages to join because he's late or whatever. Now, I don't believe this is the problem at the start of the season. Rambo said that, like, look, he had this perception of Dashy that it was going to be a really difficult character to work with. The perception of him being late is overblown, and I believe that is probably accurate at the start of the season. But I do remember Rambo had some words specifically to say about, not exactly Dashy, but I remember when iLLeY returned, and Rambo had to say on stream that, like, he was expecting iLLeY to return and the entire team to click back into gear and go fully focused. And he said that he was surprised on stream that wasn't happening. And I was kind of wondering, okay, what does he mean by that, right? Is the team not fully focused, not fully locked in? And maybe what he meant was Dashy was slipping back into old habits to a certain degree. And my understanding is that Scump was not a particularly happy man about this, right? And that he's been teaming with Dashy for many years. Dashy's had many chances. And if this is indeed the case, we don't know until the team says, but I imagine this is probably what's been going on here because, look, it's a trend of the last several years. It's not exactly a surprise if this was the case to a certain extent, but for it to be so bad that you're going to drop your, you know, MVP caliber player off the team to make another change to a player that's, you know, I guess has less talent in theory, but, you know, should be a better teammate. That's quite the statement really to make. And I think people were saying this, even Temp was saying this on stream last night. Like, look, when you drop a player of this caliber, like, you know, the reasoning is pretty obvious, especially because the playstyle was working this year. He was the MVP of stage 1. Like, it's gotta be out of game type stuff. And of course, this was the statement last year that Envoy made after the OpTic Chicago team collapsed, effectively saying that, like, look, people weren't trying so hard, weren't turning up on time, sleeping in late, not turning up to scrims. Like, this was said last year from Envoy, basically about Dashy, right? And this is what Envoy says. So, like, other players maybe either knew this was going on because, like, probably some other teams that were scrimming OpTic were like, okay, hang on a second here, why are OpTic not playing? Oh, Dashy slept in again, right? So maybe some of these players knew that this was going on behind the scenes, and some of these tweets certainly indicate that is the case, right? Because Envoy tweets this out when I saw the news, kind of saying, like, wow, I'm so shocked that Dashy got dropped from this team. What a surprise, kind of thing. Because Envoy's thinking, well, look, I've been saying this for the last couple of years, and even, you know, Crimsix says, I found this 40% hilarious. And then even Jacob goes on to say this, I thought was quite the statement, because this is an obvious subtweet of Dashy, right? There's no one else he can be talking about here, realistically. Given this came out like, what, 20, 30 minutes after the leak from CDL Scrim Intel, that this is why they dropped him for the work ethic stuff. As Jacob says, I promise you guys, there's more to COD and being an actual good team than having a high KD. So, I mean, obviously, look, Jacob has experience playing with Dashy from the OGLA days, where they were briefly on a team, and Dashy that season was, like, at the end of that year, Kenny came out and said that Dashy, like, he's a good pal, but he's just not a good teammate, effectively, is what Kenny said at the end of that season. Crimsix said the same thing at the end of Black Ops 4, so it's not a trend which is, particularly new, even as Crim says. Cap keep letting them think teamwork equals magic, saying that, there's way more to it than just that, and, this, of course, as Shark comes out with, and maybe this doesn't fully explain the situation, we might hear more over the coming days, but, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have heard for the last several years, Crimsix said that he wasn't happy with Dashy's kind of attitude during the Black Ops 4 season, Kenny said the same thing during Modern Warfare, Envoy said the same thing in Cold War, and all of a sudden there's now reports of Scump, Shotzi, and Rambo saying there's internal issues, people not turning up on time. It can't be denied there's a bit of a trend here, right? And at the start of the season it seemed to be okay, and the Illy thing just seems to have thrown off their whole flow, I suppose, right? Seemed like Dashy was good. I think there was even the talking points about, okay, if Dashy's late, he has to buy Scump a steak or something. I don't know if you guys remember a video I talked about that on, but that was talked about at the start of the season, and maybe after the Illy injury happens, and they have to, take some time off, not really sure who they're going to play with, then the latter half of the season, Dashy can't quite get back in that same groove again. The team gets frustrated, they don't get the results, the practice isn't so good, and all of a sudden they decide, well, look, Dashy might be talented, but that's not enough to compensate for all of these kind of issues, right? And that can happen maybe to some players that are so talented, they get on teams like OpTic, and maybe they get a bit comfortable with it, and issues like this start to re-emerge, right? So crazy scenes, but this is what we presently understand, and to my knowledge, this is indeed the case. Now, of course, look, OpTic now have to make their mind up. What do they do? Where does Dashy go? We'll look at it in a couple of hours' time. But as Gunner says, Seth always did say he wanted to run an AR for 1 year before he retires, right? He has said that he would like to run a flex at some point, which seems like that is going to happen if indeed Hydra does join this OpTic team. That is still not guaranteed. Now, look, they want Hydra, and if Hydra decides to join this roster and is confident in this roster, he will probably join OpTic, right? There are, of course, other benefits to joining OpTic than just the potential to win, but Hydra, Shotzi, and Scump might be the team of 3. The rest of the team is a little bit unknown right now, the main AR position, because I think Octane said in a video last night that he expects the main AR to not be a traditional main AR. We're talking an attach, we're talking a Cammy potentially. Those are the 2 key names. Now, rumors are circulating that yes, Hydra and attach is going to be the duo, but Cammy has also very much been mentioned. This is one thing though, that attach and Scump coincidentally just both happen to be on holiday in Hawaii at the moment. I believe Scump might just have got back, but you can't really rule out the possibility here that Scump and attach have had a few words to say over in Hawaii during the holidays, and come up with an idea of how they can build a team next season, right? I'm pretty sure that both of them have said in the past that they've wanted a team with each other. Now, whether attach wants to run that role, that's a bit of a question mark. The other thing as well is the possibility of Cammy, because Crone reckons that Cammy is actually slightly more of a target than attach is. So it does seem like Hydra is, of course, a target, as we looked at last night. And as Crone describes here in the article, OpTic Texas, who were expected to stick together, could be in for a 2-man change in the upcoming days and are aggressively pursuing free agent player Hydra and restricted free agent player Cammy. So no mention, I believe, of attach. I mean, he does, it doesn't mention attach in this article. So that's pretty interesting stuff, right? If Crone believes Cammy is actually the key target to maybe be their main AR instead of attach, I still kind of like it, but at the same time, I don't know if Cammy's there, if they quite have the same leadership that attach might be able to bring in, the vocal element that, he can bring to the team. So bit of an interesting one. This is one of the potential rosters. There's, of course, other potential rosters as well. Look, you guys can give your thoughts on whether you like this move. At the end of the day, dropping the Dashy thing is kind of crazy, given the ceiling that he has, and of course the success that OpTic with Dashy had this past season. But look, if Scump and the guys have had enough, and at the end of the day, Scump obviously is, he's obviously had a say in this, right? It's Scump at the end of the day. He calls the shots on this team to a certain extent. If he wasn't happy with Dashy, Dashy's going to be the one that finds himself out of the team, and maybe they just feel like, well, look, all the sacrifices that we had to make to have Dashy on our team and all the baggage that carried in the latter half of the season after the Elite thing happened, and they couldn't quite get back to that form again, and Dashy's old habits maybe recurred. They would prefer to take someone less talented than, a player like Dashy that's going to cause all these other issues. So that is, quite the statement really from OpTic. Effectively is not what they've said, but, that's of course the implication here of what that means or what they thought about Dashy. And look, he's been on OpTic for a long time. He was on OpTic, of course, in Black Ops 4 when he joined the team. Then he went to OpTic Gaming Los Angeles. He wanted to go to Chicago Huntsman, couldn't happen. Goes to OpTic Chicago next year, then to OpTic Texas, and now that run in green is at an end, unless he joins another green team like Boston, which maybe is possible, right? Who knows where Dashy is going to end up. A possible possible team. I quite like this team on paper, but I'm sure we'll be talking more in the coming days on what the roster could potentially be. Even Karma was saying like, damn, this is something special, and then, well, maybe Karma could return as well, albeit, well, however unlikely that might potentially be. But yeah, kind of crazy stuff that this team, after winning all the way back at Major 1, well, is coming to this just a few months later. Like, maybe that's what Vanguard does to a team, but I mean, yeah, obviously there are some other reasons why this indeed came to pass. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Tell us the YouTube gods, it's a good video. I'd just like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.